It's hard to talk about American action films without mentioning the work of Jean Claude Van Damme. For some of us, he was our introduction to martial arts movies. For others, he might have been the face for kickboxing and Muay Thai. And for those of us with a different persuasion, he was the ass man or the king of the splits. But for me, he was and always will be two people rolled into one. On the one hand, Van Damme's this suave superstar making waves in the meatiest of movie genres. And on the other, he was this larger-than-life goofball who was both comedic and insane. He demonstrated this kind of duality in classics like Bloodsport and Death Warrant, where he'd be as cool as ice one minute and Belgian batshit the next. But what if I told you of a time when Van Damme was so into the idea of duality that he actually played twins in 3 films? So for today's video, I'll be giving you a brief overview of these 3 films, why I think they're still worth a watch today, and why I think there's a 4th film that deserves to be in this discussion. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about the double doses of Van Damme. Let's go. Now we all know the classics when it comes to Van Damme, including Bloodsport, Kickboxer, Lionheart, and Universal Soldier, but one of my personal favorites is the 1991 classic Double Impact. Helmed by frequent Van Damme collaborator Sheldon Lettich, Double Impact was a Hollywood-Hong Kong co-production that was rife with bad dudes, luscious ladies, explosive action, and 2 Van Dammes.
There's 2 of them.
Inspired by Alexandre Dumas' book The Corsican Brothers, Lettich's script for Double Impact centered on twins who were separated during the murder of their parents, only to reunite 25 years later for payback. This was a huge departure from Jean Claude's MO of the 80s because by the early 90s, he was ready to move away from martial arts movies. And after watching Jeremy Irons in Dead Ringers, he wanted a new challenge for his career, telling the LA Times that,
"I am already changing my image in Double Impact by playing twins. One of them is violent and the other is not, so audiences can see the contrast in my work. This picture has comedy, romance, a love story, so it is not all action and fighting. I was a dancer for years. When I fight on screen, I blend karate with dancing. Grace plus power is very nice. If I stay in martial arts pictures, people will get tired of my films. If I want a long career in motion pictures, then I have to break away from physical roles. Wait and see, I will do exactly that."
Now, despite Van Damme's lack of awards in this film, he does a decent job playing our heroes, Chad and Alex. Chad's a karate teacher filled with California chill who digs the ladies a little too much, while Alex is an angry, brooding smuggler who's pissed off about everything. By the time they reunite in Hong Kong, the twins are literally worlds apart when it comes to their demeanor. Alex, for the most part, is down with a little revenge since he's technically a career criminal and he's loaded. Chad, on the other hand, is sympathetic, yet totally aloof to the dangers of what they're about to do and still thinks he's in Hollywood. The brothers are opposites in every sense of the word, and these distinctions even play out with their respective fighting styles. Chad is more classic Van Damme, where he uses various kicks, sweeps, and roundhouses to dispatch his enemies. Alex is more hands-on and uses punches, chops, locks, and throws to full effect. He's also super handy with weapons. That's a good thing because these twins are going up against a sneaky Englishman, a mafia boss, Van Damme's real-life sparring partner, Miss Olympia herself, Corey Everson, and the bad guy to end all bad guys, Bolo f***ing Yearn. And since this is a movie about twin brothers, there's gotta be a fight scene between them. Though it clocks in at 110 minutes, the film's action is straight to the point once the ball gets rolling. And when it comes to the barehanded brawls, Double Impact serves up the pain by keeping it short, sweet, and simple. Everything Alex does is down and dirty. He'll either improvise an attack, break your arm, or straight up gun you down. But Chad's kicks are a work of art. The poise and power that he employs is a sight to behold. It's textbook Van Damme, and Double Impact makes no exception. And it always helps when all your henchmen are Hong Kong stuntmen who know how to sell the pain. If there's anything I'd write off about Double Impact, it's that it's really dated in some parts. When I was a kid, the TV ads hyped up the twins angle like nothing else. The simple techniques they used to create the double effect were kind of a big deal at the time. However, if you look closely, it's easy to spot the doubles, green screens, and composite shots. It isn't a big deal to me, but I wanted to point that out to others who aren't familiar with this film. In addition, Chad and Alex are typical 90s American action heroes, and that kind of means that there's going to be some 90s cringe here. Alex is an awful boyfriend to his bodacious girlfriend Danielle, and even accuses her of infidelity. He also likes to call Chad the F word because of his black silk underwear, so yikes. Chad doesn't fare any better because he does some cringy stuff too.
Chad, take a bite. Be a man.
What's it supposed to do? Make my dick bigger?
Also, your mileage may vary when it comes to Danielle's encounter with Corey Everson. If you know, you know. So yeah, just a trigger warning to you younger viewers out there. But otherwise, if you're down for some kicks, kills, and comedy, definitely seek out Double Impact. It's double the action and double the Van Damme. Just beware that it's a product of the 90s, for better and for worse. Van Damme's next role with Twins is a film that's near and dear to my heart, and it's 1996's Maximum Risk, directed by the late, great Ringo Lam. An icon of the Hong Kong New Wave, Ringo cut his teeth with gritty films like Burning Paradise, Full Contact, and the much beloved City on Fire, which is widely known to be the direct inspiration for Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs. Though he would go on to make his own spin on Twins with 1992's Twin Dragons, Maximum Risk is notable for being Ringo's first foray into the West. However, what makes this film unique to the whole Double Van Damme theme here is that Van Damme is killed in the opening act. No, I'm not shitting you, he's iced in a car chase and it's only been 5 fucking minutes. Afterwards, we cut to an unrelated funeral scene with the other Van Damme in attendance. This is Detective Alain Moreau mourning the death of his old army commander when out of nowhere, his best friend and fellow cop Sebastian is relieved to find him alive, much to Alain's confusion. After combing through his dead ringer's belongings, Alain's mom reveals that the deceased is in fact his actual twin brother who was adopted at birth due to tragic circumstances. This motivates Alain to seek answers about the brother he never knew and the circumstances surrounding his mysterious death. And lucky for us, Alain's search is riddled with lots and lots of action. Filmed on location in Nice and in Manhattan, Maximum Risk is what I call an action fan's delight. Though we don't see two Van Damme sharing the screen, we get to see what happens when Alain's mistaken for his brother Mikhail. Trouble follows him at every turn, and the filmmakers devised a ton of clever set pieces that deliver pulse-pounding action. This is especially true once you factor in the late great Stefanos Mitsotakis into the proceedings, a stuntman and jiu-jitsu practitioner whose larger-than-life presence torments Van Damme across the film's runtime. Now, the only time this film gets dicey is when Natasha Henstridge is thrown into the mix. Hot off her fame from Species, Henstridge plays Alex, and she's the ice to Alain's fire, so to speak. But get this, okay? Alex dated Alain's dead brother, Mikhail, and confuses him for Mikhail, so, cool? So if you're down with Alex going in for seconds, definitely double dip with Maximum Risk. Like, yeah, I'm not selling this, am I? Moving on to our third film, Replicant features Van Damme as an elusive serial killer that can't be stopped. So what's the solution? We clone the bastard and put him in the custody of Michael Rooker. What could possibly go wrong?
Easy! Take it easy! Whoa, no!
This was the second Van Damme film with Ringo Lam at the helm, and despite the batshit premise, it's not bad. As a sci-fi film, the leaps and bounds are a given because the Replicant has a psychic link with our villain, which makes for one hell of a scene once they finally square off. Jean Claude seems to be having the time of his life as a villain because he's suave, psychotic, and he's got shades. It's Van Damme sans fromage. If anything, the cheese factor comes when he's the title character. Though the Replicant looks like an adult, he's technically a newborn kid that's holed up in a lab, which is a shit deal, but the way Jean Claude conveys this is kind of a mixed bag. And if you factor in the fact that he's being looked after by a batshit Michael Rooker, let's just say that this pairing is a recipe for disaster. Throughout the film, Rooker wants nothing more than to nail evil Van Damme, but it's difficult for our Replicant to track our villain because, again, he's just a kid. But Rooker is impatient and abuses our main character to get his way. Thankfully, the film makes no excuses for this cringe behavior, and the rest of Replicant's runtime is focused on ironing out Rooker's relationship with our hero, helping him ignore the advances of our villain, and getting him ready for the mirror match of the century. To many a Van Damme fan, Replicant had a lot going against it. It was low budget, it lacked a wide release, and it came out at a time when Van Damme's star began to fade from public consciousness. However, I still think there's a lot of merit to this film, namely when it comes to Van Damme. He fits right in as the villain, and both he and Rooker give some wild performances here.
Ringo was able to bring lots of emotion from the inside on the screen, from me, emotion. I'm in rage, I'm disturbed, so I play those two. It was a great experience, and Ringo did change my life as an actor for the next 10 years. That's all I can say. So the biggest gift from Ringo to me, it's I became a better actor. And the biggest gift from me to the audience, they will have a better movie.
And don't worry, we still see the splits. So if you're itching to see a different side to Van Damme, do a double take and give Replicant a try. So yeah, those are the 3 films featuring a double dose of Van Damme. Though some may think of it as a cliche, I feel like he relished the challenge and was intrigued by how this theme would play out in each of these films. Replicant is a sci-fi thriller, Maximum Risk is cops versus robbers, and Double Impact is muscles, muscles, muscles. But in my opinion, I think there's a 4th film that's doubled the trouble for Van Damme, and honestly, I think we've all failed to see it that way. Now, before you click off, okay, just hear me out. I'm gonna make my case, so just stick around, all right? Just give me grace, please, pretty please. In this film, Van Damme's a cop like he was on Maximum Risk. Unfortunately for him and his twin, the loss of a loved one changes the course of their lives, which sounds a lot like Double Impact. What makes this movie interesting, however, is that Van Damme's not just any other cop, because he's got some futuristic technology by his side, which means we have a sci-fi film just like Replicant. But here's the twist. The twins exist in 2 separate timelines, but they're the same exact person. And by the end of the film, they unknowingly work together to save the day. Now, if you made it this far, I hope you'll give me enough grace to say that the 4th film, in my opinion, that counts as a double dose of Van Damme is none other than Peter Hyams' Time Cop from 1994. Van Damme is Max Walker, a DC cop doing kicks and turning tricks with the legendary Mia Sara as his wife. But after a home invasion leaves him injured and Mia killed, we fast forward 10 years later, and this once bright-eyed hotshot is now a grizzled, no-nonsense detective for the TEC, or the Time Enforcement Commission. One minute he's busting his partner for gaming the stock market in the 20s, and the next minute he's doing the splits because he's pissed off the wrong people in high places. This is where we meet the villain of Time Cop, Senator Aaron McComb, played to perfection by the late Ron Silver. An asshole populist that's way more apt now than it ever was in 1994, the film revolves around Walker's investigation into the senator and his abuse of time travel technology, which is ironic since McComb helped to form a federal commission that regulates said technology.
country's going down the drain because of the special interests. We need someone in the White House who's so rich, doesn't have to listen to anybody. When I'm in office, it's going to be like the 80s again. Top 10% will get richer. The other 90% can emigrate to Mexico where they can live a better life.
But here's the thing. The twins angle only comes at the end, so minor spoilers ahead. Thanks to a double cross, Max is stuck in 1994, and the senator plans to axe him and his comrades for good. He evades exposure thankfully, but discovers that his wife was pregnant before she was vaporized. Realizing that today's date is the day she dies, he does the unthinkable and tries to change the past. This is where the film gets freaky because Max Walker's whole backstory is replayed, but with future Max in the background. After getting a rude awakening from future Max about time travel, Mia Sara's asked to just play along to keep young Max from leaving the house like he did before. However, the movie flips it over our heads because once the senator's henchmen arrive to rinse, kill, and repeat, they slowly get a taste of some double impact.
Who the f*** are you?
Friend of the family.
Young Max and Mia Sara team up to off some henchmen, while old Max just blows away the competition. Though it doesn't live up to the rest of Time Cop's action scenes, the finale delivers a lot more suspense because our three heroes are outmanned and outgunned in the rain. Mia and the Maxes are literally working against time to change it because if they don't, they are history. So there you have it. 4 action films featuring a double dose of Van Damme. This was a long time coming, guys, and I've always wanted to cover this topic, and I hope this video gives you at least some inkling or some inspiration to give these films a second chance. If I had to be choosy, I'd kind of veer towards Time Cop and Maximum Risk. The former because it's kind of Van Damme's biggest blockbuster. The latter, as I mentioned before, it's kind of a personal taste for me, but I've always considered Maximum Risk a hidden gem, and I want more people to give it a try. Lastly, I do want to mention that even though Van Damme's transition to drama didn't happen like he intended to during his heyday, he did find a way to gain more recognition for his acting in the 2000s and 2010s, with gritty performances in films like In Hell, Wake of Death, or the Universal Soldier sequels with John Hyams. And that also includes Enemies Closer and even Jean Claude Van Johnson. However, Van Damme's most lauded acting job would have to be the semi-biographical JCVD, an action comedy that pokes fun at Van Damme's controversies by having Jean Claude play as Jean Claude, and it's incredible. He spends the entire film lambasting himself, and the biggest highlight is that he bears his entire soul in a 9-minute monologue that has to be seen to be believed. I'm serious. And I'm not a Rotten Tomatoes person, okay? But this film is 82% on the tomato meter, and that's crazy. The dude went from black silk underwear to fucking Shakespeare. Holy shit. But as I alluded to earlier, Van Damme always felt like two people to me. Because even though he's closed out his legacy with memes and gratitude, other things just pop up and I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, but this sounds terrible. In closing, two things can be true at the same time, especially when it comes to Jean Claude Van Damme. And whichever way you view his legacy, I hope you come away with the understanding that when it comes to 90s action heroes, Van Damme was a man of many faces. This is Naika Video, and we'll see you again next time.